just one place where you can go from high school to flight school. The Army. Today's Army has more pilots than the largest airline.
Not bad for a rookie.
That ad came out in like 1982. I was 2 years old, and I still remember those ads. I don't know why. There's something about ads, old school ads, that just stick with me. I watched very closely as a child. Commercials probably closer than my TV shows. Either way it goes, do you remember that classic ad where you can join the Army, fly helicopters at 18 years old, dive in the mud, visit foreign countries that you've never had the opportunity to visit and just hang out? Those ads were the way to entice people into joining the Army, but there's more recently ones where they want to talk about the things that people could get, the benefits you receive from being in the Army post-Army. Let's watch some of those ads.
So we're getting that house we told you guys about.
You're buying a house?
Yeah, soldiers get VA loan guarantees.
Yeah, no money down.
Well, my office gives us free bagels.
That's cool.
Yes. I'll get you the file.
Sounds intense.
Clients. What do you do?
Retired?
Tech?
Nah, Army.
Huh.
Lots of benefits for joining the Army. One thing I always remembered, again, even at 5, 6 years old, was, man, GI Bill, benefits, pay for college. That is the main hook, and that's where the problem now lies. Because President Biden, as we know, proposed that $20,000 of a student loan debt relief. And now many Republican Congress people are voicing their concerns and their anger over this whole thing because it's gonna stop with their recruiting tools for getting people to join the Army. Yeah, I said that. It's gonna hurt their recruiting chances to allow people to be relieved of their student loans. Let's go to details because the way they said it sounds even worse. First, Republican lawmakers, they're worried that President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness will be a disincentive Americans from joining the Army. Last week, 19 Republican lawmakers wrote a letter to Biden expressing concerns with his recently announced $20,000 in debt cancellation for federal borrowers making up to $125,000 a year. They said that there are unintended consequences with Biden's one-time blanket relief when it comes to military recruiting because it undermines the military's ability to use free education as a recruiting tool. In fact, one of those folks, Representative Don Bacon, he tweeted this. He goes, my House colleagues and I are very concerned that the deeply flawed and unfair policy of blanket student loan forgiveness will also weaken our most powerful recruiting tool at the precise moment, by the way, this is happening, experiencing a crisis in military recruiting. Now you're wondering, like I was, hey, they're forgiving student loans for folks who already went, right? This is, if you're recruiting folks, isn't it the same thing? The price of college is still exorbitant. It's still a problem, right? So as Republicans noted in the letter, Americans might choose, this is the way it works, to enlist in the military to receive a free education during or after completion of service. That benefit was first established in the GI Bill to help service members pay for college, graduate school, and training programs. So they can push it off till later. And now, if they don't have to push it off till later because it can be forgiven, then what's the whole problem? I want to read a couple of the co-signers to this bill, Senator Turner, before we let you jump in here, about the things that they said and how upset and annoyed they are, because they want to be on the record. They signed on to Congressman Womack's bill and letter, not bill, but letter, trying to force Biden to do something different. Congressman Fallon said this: military recruitment is hard enough. With Joe Biden's recent announcement to cancel the 20,000, I fear what may come next. The armed services have often used educational benefits as a top incentive in the recruitment process, and now it's gone. We deserve answers. Congressman Jackson said to disincentivize joining the military while the military faces major recruiting problems is yet another dumbfounding, misguided decision from our commander-in-chief. I joined the Navy in part to pay for medical school, which proved to be one of the best and most important decisions of my life. Biden's $330 billion plus student loan handout is illegal and an insult to millions of Americans. Despite what he just said, he thinks he's talking about insults. Lastly, there's tons of these. Congressman Hudson said, President Biden's student loan boondoggle is unfair to the millions of hardworking Americans, especially heroes who serve in our nation's military. As Fort Bragg's congressman, I'm concerned about how this action will impact our military recruitment and readiness. And I'm proud to join with my colleagues in holding the president accountable. Senator Turner, there's been multiple people that signed onto this that want to point out that they represent a lot of veterans, a lot of military folks in areas where many of these folks live or end up living and settling down. And they're representing them by saying, look, we got them in the military by saying that they want to go to college, right? Not join the military. Why can't we do that anymore?
This is one of them moments. You know, my grandmother, when she didn't have the words, that's what she would do. Listen, just let's read the small print here. What they're talking about is poor people and their children. Because if they want to recruit, let them go ahead and recruit. Let's recruit some of these ultra wealthy people and their children, and that will solve the problem right there, the problem that they're making up, because there is no problem here. And they are really very much, Jay, out of touch with their constituents. We saw the polling. Most of the American people, whether they be Democrat or Republican, agree with this relief of up to $20,000. You get to that $20,000 if you were a Pell Grant recipient, but they sound like fools. But this is about working class people and their children, not the ultra. We can't lure the working class people and their children in. Look what you're doing, President Biden. Now, y'all going out there and launch a major, can you see the commercial, Jay? I know you can write one up for this. Let's go ahead and entice the ultra wealthy among us to go ahead and join the armed forces. They don't have to worry about paying for college.
People talk about how the rich folks, they're saying, oh, this is a disaster for regular Americans as far as the student loan relief. And they're like, and look, you're forgiving loans for rich people. Rich folks don't have student loans. I went to University of Southern California. I know a lot of those folks. They didn't have loans.
No, they don't.
They had BMWs.
They're full of it.
One more thing, because graphic 8, you guys, Congressman Klein said this. And this is one of those moments when you're thinking, hey, maybe you should have thought this part. The promise of the GI Bill for military service is one of the top reasons individuals join the military. Ending this incentive at a time when they're dealing with their goals is a problem. Shouldn't you kind of keep that part in your head? I thought joining the military was for honor, for serving your country, for doing the right thing, for keeping peace, for protecting the homeland. No, apparently, to the folks who represent veterans, it's the top recruiting reason is to get people to avoid having to pay for college, which might lead us to wonder why they want to do nothing about the problem with paying for college. Because then you can't entice people to then join the military and then maybe go on missions that may help line the pockets of military contractors, people who pay your bills. It's all connected, but they don't really want to let you know that part. They're very motivated, and it's always motivated by money and possibly of returning to office. And this is just one way to do it.